Hey everyone, welcome to Financial Revelations. I am your host, David Safransky. And the end of the year is coming up. I just want to give you a heads up. Next week, we're going to do an economic recap of the year, just kind of a look back and think of all the great things that happened this year and some not so great. You can reach me on Twitter at skibucks1, the number one. All this stuff will be running below me, so you don't have to remember it. There isn't a quiz at the end of this, but I'm thinking about instituting that. So if you have questions, contact Corey. If you want a question answered, contact Corey. If you want anything else, also contact Corey. You can hear me on WCRF Thursday mornings, every Thursday morning. Well, most Thursday mornings from 8 to 9. And you could use the Moody Radio App if you're not in the Cleveland area, and you can listen. And I'm pretty sure they record those. I don't know why. But you could go back and if you heard a piece of information that you want to go over again. But if you don't know where to get that from, you could contact Corey, and she will talk to me. So she does talk to me about all this stuff. We have an Amazon trip coming up in March of 2025. We've got a full boat. You can't go. You can't support it if you want to. Any donation is appreciated, and it all goes to the church. We don't keep any of that. And they're building a church in the Amazon in this little city of Maués. You can Google it, Maués, Brazil, see where we go. When we get to Maués, Brazil, we get on a church boat and we go further south and east into the indigenous areas that are protected. It's kind of like, I would equate it to an Indian reservation. And you have to have permission to go there, and that's where we go into. Sometimes they're as close as like 4 or 5 hours away from the city. The village we went to was a day and a half by boat. It was a long trip. It was deep in the jungle. But we have a Starlink, and it works. And we have 200 megabyte download speed in the middle of the jungle. We also have a winner for our $250 gift card. It's Uriah and Lizzie. Uriah and Lizzie's son, Aaron, has leukemia. He's been in the hospital. And Lizzie starts cancer treatment next week. So I want you to keep them in our prayers. And we're gonna send them a $250 gift card today. Just as, it's Christmas time. They're struggling. They're going to be going through it. So I do want you to keep them in their prayers. And if anybody else wanted to donate to Uriah and Lizzie, they were nominated by a friend. We could help you get in touch with them. So they're going to have needs, undoubtedly. They're going to be traveling for treatments, and their life is going to be upside down. So if our community could help, well, then we should do that if we can, if it's within our power. If it's not within your power, you can keep them in your prayer. And that's also a very valuable thing, too. So, hey, there is a Fed meeting ending today, and there will be a 25 basis point cut, 25 bips or 1/4 of 1%. This is going to happen today. Now, the inflation numbers coming into this meeting really weren't great. Their inflation is ticking back up. Now, remember who still is president. Joe Biden is still president. Kind of. Maybe. I think. I don't know if he knows. I don't know who the president is. I don't know who's doing the things that are happening right now, but there is some chicanery going on during this transition where they're selling off pieces of the border wall at 5 cents on the dollar. So it cost $100. They're selling it for $5 in auctions. Texas is buying it a lot, and they're going to put up the border wall, and they're going to donate it back to the federal government once Trump is president. But a lot of these things are going on. They're trying to keep people working from home, and any business leader that you talk to. Now, I understand why people like to work from home. I'm not saying that you're a bad person because you like that, but what I am saying, when you think about the way business is conducted, and I was talking to somebody yesterday about this where they said, all of our people work from home, and if I need something from them, I can't get it. They don't answer emails, they don't pick up phone calls. If I need a part ordered, and they're kind of high up in their workplace, it's like, I can't get things done. Whereas before, I would walk over to somebody's office or submit a requisition, and it got done right away. Business really doesn't get done as efficiently work from home. There are some people that can do it, but I don't think most people can. And so there is going to be a move afoot to reintegrate people. Now, think about this, though. Like, if you worked in downtown New York City, you worked in the city, in the district, and you had to get there, and then you had to get home every day, it might take you an hour and a half. So there's some efficiency there by not having to do those things, but most people don't do that. Most people, I know people that work in Cleveland that are now living in Florida. They still work in Cleveland, working remote. I think people are coming back to work. I think that's going to happen. So Biden signed some agreement yesterday that kept people at home. That's going to be rescinded. It's not a law. So the things that the president says, oh, by the stroke of this pen, you could do, oh, by the stroke of this pen, that's no longer true. So a lot of that's going to happen. But, Chair Powell, what am I saying? He's going to be remembered in my circles, in the circles that I run in, as kind of a tragic figure who got pushed around like a broken sail and was politically motivated. That's how I'm going to remember Chair Powell. I'm going to miss him. I am, because the next person might have a name that I can't do that with, but I'll do it anyway. If they have like multiple syllables in their name, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to get creative. But allow me to elucidate slightly about why I think he's a tragic figure, why I think he should be fired. Donald Trump should fire Chair Powell. He should walk into the Oval Office, put his feet on the desk, pardon J6 people, and fire Jay Powell. That's what he should do. He's not going to do that. At least he is going to pardon the J6ers. But Chair Powell sat idly by while Joe Biden, the president, I think, they spent so much money recklessly while opening the border. These things are inflationary, by the way. Ran record debt into a constrained economy. So you can't get, I bought a truck in the pandemic. Okay, I went to a truck dealership in Orrville, Ohio. They had 2 trucks on the lot. One was the one that I bought. While I was there, people were trying to buy it. They're like, "Can I see this?" I'm like, "No, it's my truck. You can't go in it." Normally, they would have 200 trucks there. So for some reason, they gave me a deal on this truck. They shouldn't have, but they did. But you think about this, when supply and demand, so you got supply and demand, supply here, demand here. And supply goes way down, but demand doesn't. So you're not getting any of the product, but demand stays high. Price goes up. It's inflationary, and that's what they were doing. And then on top of that, on top of all that, while he sat idly by, while the administration just went nuts, and they said, "Oh, well, it's transitory." So that was the word of the day. I have a hat on my desk that says, "Inflation is not transitory." I also have a hat on my desk that says, "I suck at investing." That's not true, and neither was the other one. So if that wasn't enough, if that wouldn't have cast him into the trash heap of history as a total failure in an unneeded fashion, in an attempt to juice the economy ahead of the 2024 election, and thereby hurt Donald Trump's chances of victory, he cut rates 50 basis points. Now, on the screen, we're going to put up a picture, 2 pictures. Okay, 2 pictures are up on the screen right now, side by side. One is a picture of Arthur Burns. He was the Fed chairman under Jimmy Carter. And previous to Jay Powell, he was one of the worst Fed chairmen we had ever had. And then there's a picture of Jay Powell. I submit to you that they are the exact same person. Their DNA is inseparable. Both should have been fired. Neither were. Okay, I'm back. This is David. Chair Powell should be fired. Chair Powell deserves to be fired. I don't have animosity towards him personally, but economically, he's not that smart. This is what's going to happen, though. The press loves Jay Powell. I don't know why. I don't know why. They were in the bag the whole time. Why were they in the bag? Because they're all Democrats. If you look at America's major newsrooms, like the mainstream media, which, everybody, who isn't mainstream medium? Like OAN. Is it OAN? Yeah, OAN is not mainstream media. Fox News is basically mainstream media. So when they talk about the mainstream media, they're basically talking about themselves. Now they have lined up behind Trump, but they're the mainstream media. What isn't the mainstream media, but is the media, I think more now than ever, is probably Twitter. You get more news, you get more truth out of Twitter. People are quitting Twitter, like people from Hollywood, and George Stephanopoulos just quit Twitter because they settled with Donald Trump for a libel suit. He had to pay $1 million of his own money. ABC paid $15 million to avoid going to court. They quit Twitter not because they couldn't get their point across, not because they couldn't say what they wanted to say. They're quitting Twitter because you get to say what you want to say. They're quitting Twitter because of freedom of speech. They don't like freedom of speech. They want to control the narrative. So Chair Powell should be fired. That's where you should get your news from, is on Twitter, and look for different sources. I follow people that I don't agree with just so I can see, well, what are they thinking, and might they be right? I know this is hard to believe, but I'm not right about everything. So now that we have another rate cut, that's happening. It's going to happen. It probably shouldn't happen, but it's going to happen. We got to be really careful. And the reason why I compare Jay Powell to Arthur Burns, saying that they are indeed the same person, because Arthur Burns kept stopping and starting. They would cut rates, and then inflation would heat up, and then they would stop, and it just got out of hand. It was, and as we're seeing, so to get the low hanging fruit, to get like from the highest levels of inflation that we had under Joe Biden and Chair Powell, to get them down to a more tolerable level was easy. It was quite easy. Just raise rates. To go that last mile, though, to get those last bits of inflation out to where you're growing like 2% or less, which is still inflationary, but that's their goal. It's really hard. It's hard to do. That's why you can't let inflation start in the first place. That's why at the first sign of inflation, you have to act. I'm not saying raise rates right away, but the government affects these things too by spending and debt loads, and government creates inflation. It's the free market does not create inflation, because the free market finds an equilibrium and perfect pricing. It may take a while, but it finds those things. So now that we have this rate cut that we're going to have today, there is economic events happening, and these are things that I have not witnessed in my economic lifetime. Now, they might have happened before, but I don't remember them while I've been in business. I've been in business since 1992. I have no plans to retire. I'm writing a book called The Sin of Retirement. We have a loose manuscript now. We're going to drill down on that in the next couple of weeks. Time kind of slows down for us in between the holidays, just in this, because most of the things that need to be done are done. Everybody's enjoying their family. They don't want to talk to me. And quite frankly, I don't want to hear from them. So business leaders are lining up like I've never seen before. And this is happening. This is not me touting, me being political. This is really happening. The world is coming to America right now to meet with Donald Trump. I do think that the Trump administration this time is going to be very, very different, and they're not going to take quite so much crap from everybody. And I think the world knows that. And And even Donald Trump seems to be a little bit lower key right now in this transition period. I saw a press conference with him. It was like an hour long. I turned it off after a while. I'm like, oh, okay, I've heard enough. But a reporter asked him kind of a dumb question. You know, reporters, the modern day reporter is really just a repeating station. They don't really do anything. They don't find anything out. As we've seen the last 4 years, they just basically talk their book and try and get Democrats elected. But a reporter asked him a dumb question, and he kind of, in the past, he would have let him have it for 25 minutes. It was like 2 minutes. And the question was, are you planning on bombing Iran's nuclear facilities? I remember one time, Saturday Night Live, when it was funny. It's been a long time since it's been funny, but during the first Gulf War, they'd have Kevin Nealon stand up and be a reporter, and he'd say, "Can you tell us your battle plans for the next 3 weeks?" Reporters are dumb. Maybe they think somebody will answer that question, but what I'm seeing though is that America is open for business, and we're going to see some things. Now, I want you to be ready to buy some setbacks, because I got to tell you, I'm not a big fan. If all you did was say, hey, look, I'm going to do tariffs, I'm going to tariff everybody, I would not be a big fan of that. And some of Trump's policy measures are inflationary if they happen just in a vacuum. If he said, okay, we're just going to do tariffs, but you can offset those things with things that are anti-inflationary. For instance, you could create some higher prices in one part of the economy and create substantially lower prices in another part, like the energy complex. The energy complex drives everything that happens in America, because everything gets here on a plane, a train, a truck, or a boat. It's all coming here. Now, we make a lot of stuff here, but we one of the things about globalization, and I'm going to talk about this next week because it's a misunderstood concept. We've taken it way too far, but globalization allows economies, especially weaker economies, to specialize in something and then sell it to the world. Okay, they don't have to do everything in-house anymore, which most countries aren't really good at. We're the best at it. We could do it again. I would have to say probably because of the land mass of China, they could be good at doing everything in-house. Russia maybe, but Russia, when you have economies that are central government based, so you have dictatorships or communism, heavy socialism. Russia is kind of a communism socialism mix. They're extremely inefficient with markets. So even though they have the land, the infrastructure to do these things, capital never gets allocated efficiently. So things die on the vine, projects die on the vine. Whereas here, capital is allocated extremely efficiently by the free market. And so things get done. And by the way, before we globalized, and it started in the early 80s, really took off in the 90s, before we did that, we made everything here. Now, did we do everything perfect? No, we didn't. But we could do it again. So that'll be next week with a recap of the financial year. It'll be enjoyable. I might even have a smoking jacket on and a cigar. I don't smoke, so I won't light the cigar, but yeah, they smell good. I don't mind if people smoke them around me, just not in the office. I had a friend one time who always used to want to smoke in my car, and I had to tell him, if you light that cigarette in my car, you're going to walk from wherever we're at. He wasn't a big guy, so I could have kicked him out of the car very easily. But listen, it's going to be a great economic time, and we've got to be ready to be investors in this. I do believe, I have a sense of this, that there will be setbacks. There's always setbacks. So there's going to be down markets for a variety of reasons. It could be an exogenous event that we don't even know is coming right now. But I do feel like these markets are going to be growing markets. I'm watching this coalesce around me. And I'm like, you see that? Did you hear what they just said? These are really positive things for for America. It doesn't matter what your political persuasion is. So I want you guys, if you don't watch next week, I want you to have a Merry Christmas. Take some time with your families. You're never going to be on your deathbed saying, I wish I would have been to the office one more day. And if you do, I'm really sorry for you. But we will really, at some point in our lives, realize I should have invested more in our family. I should have done this. Don't put yourself in that position. Do it now while you still can. I am David Safransky, a real American, a true red-blooded gun-owning patriot, and the voice you can trust.